Globally, from 1850 to 2010, energy consumption per individual has increased by a factor of 9. Paired with our expanding population, consumption of our world's natural resources has become a major concern. As a nation, we have become dependent on non-renewable sources of energy. Only 8% of our current energy consumption comes from renewable sources. Almost 80% of energy in the United States comes from fossil fuels, with petroleum remaining the most important energy source due to its wide variety of uses. In 2015, the reserve life index for petroleum was estimated at 52 remaining years before we deplete the resource. So what can be done to steer our energy economy in the right direction? An assessment completed in 2016 of sustainable biomass energy potential revealed that up to 30% of petroleum consumption in the United States could be replaced with biofuels. Far from being a new source of energy, biomass has regained popularity due to its renewability and relative carbon neutrality. Biomass is infinitely renewable as long as it is obtained from sustainably managed forests and farms. The availability of biomass is staggering. In 2011, the U.S. Department of Energy estimated that 910 million tons of biomass crops and agriculture residues could be produced annually in the United States. Additionally, 100 million more dry tons of wood-based biomass could be sustainably harvested from our nation's forests and extracted from industrial waste streams. This local resource would significantly reduce the need to import foreign sources of energy. Our forests are playing an increasingly important role in stabilizing our environment by reducing the amount of carbon contained in our atmosphere. The beauty of wood is that it is a negative climate emitter, meaning it absorbs more carbon as it grows than it emits. Once harvested, it takes very little additional energy to transform wood into products that provide long-term carbon storage. Much of the biomass obtained from our forests comes from the residues that are not suitable for timber production, including bark, branches, and tree stumps. In the past, these resources would have been discarded as waste, but today we convert them to energy. Biomass obtained from agriculture systems can either be grown specifically for energy production or gathered from agriculture residues that would have previously been discarded. These resources can be utilized beyond energy production for making industrial chemicals, solvents, pharmaceuticals, and plastics, which can replace products now derived from petroleum. Using current technology, there are numerous methods to convert biomass into energy. Common processes include combustion for electricity generation, production of a variety of liquid fuels like bioethanol and biodiesel, and compaction into pellets used for heating homes as well as fuel for steam generation. These systems work together with a variety of feedstocks to ensure efficient energy production by minimizing biological waste.
One example of biowaste is through the burning of standard wood, twigs, or sawdust, keeping in mind that we don't want to be cutting down trees just to produce energy, but rather we use the sawdust and leftover wood scraps. There is a lot of product loss when making a standard 2x4, since the tree is circular. This accounts for almost 70% of a tree, so by collecting that, we are able to save landfills and produce energy. An example of such a place that does this is the St. Paul Cogeneration. Receiving 1,000 tons of wood chips a day, this place uses wood waste as a primary fuel source to produce electricity. This energy that is created is used to heat and cool water and provide electricity for up to 20,000 homes in the surrounding area. Another form of alternative renewable energy is first-generation biofuels, such as corn ethanol. This is produced through a couple of different ways, known as wet milling and dry milling. Wet milling is a process that basically goes through a series of steps to turn corn into cornstarch, which is then fermented into corn ethanol. Dry milling grinds the corn, soaks it, and then facilitates yeast activity, which produces ethanol. Although corn brings many different uses to the table, not all of them can be satisfied. The Federal Renewable Fuels Standard requires that a third of the U.S. corn crop will be converted into ethanol. This encourages cropland use in the country, but demotes crop diversity, which is critical to have fertile soil. This also brings up the idea that corn for ethanol is taking up space that would otherwise be used for food for the people. Because of the increase in ethanol, corn prices have to go up to combat the shrinking pool of edible corn cropland. The controversy behind corn ethanol is that the water, time, and energy needed to produce this corn is just as, if not more, expensive than simply using fossil fuels for energy. Corn ethanol cannot last forever with the growing energy need and world population. It's time to make a switch.
Instead of coming from sugarcane, corn, or other starch-based sources, second-generation biofuels are derived from plants that contain cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin. Much like first-generation biofuels, they are able to be blended with petroleum-based fuels and used in existing internal combustion engines with minimal modifications or used in their pure form in adapted internal combustion engines. There are two main methods used to synthesize second-gen biofuels. One is a biochemical process while the other is a thermochemical process. In the biochemical process, enzymes, specifically acids, are used to break the bonds between cellulose polymers and produce glucose. The glucose is then fermented using yeast to produce alcohol, which is then distilled and refined into ethanol. To produce biofuel with the thermochemical method, biomass is first exposed under an air-rich environment under extremely high temperatures from 900 to 3000 degrees Fahrenheit in a chemical conversion process known as gasification. The end product from the conversion is synthesis gas. The syngas can then be converted into various types of gaseous or liquid fuels such as ethanol or biodiesel. Now onto third-generation biofuels. Third-gen biofuels mark the pinnacle of biofuel technology, and their main source is algae. There are many characteristics of algae that make it one of the best feedstocks for biofuel production. First of all, algae is extremely diverse and abundant. It can be found nearly anywhere in any form. Secondly, algae oil can be very easily refined as a biodiesel. Perhaps most importantly, algae can be genetically modified to produce many varieties of fuels, including biodiesel, butanol, gasoline, methane, ethanol, vegetable oil, or even jet fuel. A very beneficial side effect of using algae as a source of biofuel is being able to take advantage of toxic algae blooms and converting them into something that we can all benefit from. Imagine being able to clean up all the lakes and rivers infested with algae and then using that algae to generate energy.
In one form or another, biofuels are going to become the energy backbone of the future. Second-generation biofuel technology is rapidly catching up, as well as third-generation biofuels from algae. They are being exploited by many organizations, such as the Department of Energy, ExxonMobil, and even the Department of Bioproducts and Biosystems Engineering right here at the University of Minnesota. It's amazing how far the technology has come since the introduction of corn ethanol, and it will certainly open the doors to a green, resourceful, and sustainable future of energy.